Boom, boom, boom. Welcome to Franchise Mode. We're back with another episode. This is our Sunday episode. So today is all about sports. Tomorrow on Monday, we will have a little bit of life. We have the toxic hour. We have a lot of other stuff. But today, all about sports. I got two special guests. My guy Kenny, my guy Zay. It's gonna be a fun episode. And we didn't even know the Cowboys would do this when I invited them on the show. It just is a coincidence that I invited both of them as a Cowboys to do this. So now I'm gonna bring both of them on. Let's do it, guys. How's everybody doing?
What's up, fellas?
Pretty good.
Doing good.
Yeah. So look, I mean, people are here. They're ready to go. We're giving people are dropping the comments. We're just gonna go Dallas Cowboys meltdown. I'm literally looking forward to one of you two, and I'm gonna be the third one to go. So whoever wants to go first,
go on, Zay.
Kenny, you can go.
It's like, okay, you know what? All right, so this is what I'll say. I mean, we're using the word meltdown. I don't want to say it's a complete meltdown. I just think that a lot of the issues that they've had just kind of surfaced in this game.
Yep.
They struggled, obviously, clearly struggled stopping the run on the defensive side of the ball. I want to say Jacksonville had 192 rushing yards total, so pretty close to that 200-yard mark that Dallas is familiar with 2 to 3 times this year. But I think when you look at the second half and the way that things transpired, you kind of have to look to coaching, and you have to look at Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy, because to tell you the truth, after that Trevor Lawrence fumble forced by J-Ron Curse in the fourth quarter, there should have been no goddamn reason that Dallas should have not even been able to. They should have been able to get the first down. First of all, we'll throw that out there. I think the play selection was terrible,
horrific.
It was horrific. And second of all, let's say you don't get the fourth down. It's 3rd and 10. Why not just run the football or go for a short pass, catch and run, and put them in position where they have to burn that timeout? Now that last drive looks different because Trevor Lawrence has to move the ball downfield, and they're not, they got to spike the ball. They're not able to call a timeout, clock it, and get have the kicker come in and tie it up to go into overtime. So it was just as much as I love the culture Mike McCarthy has built, I think that this is where he shows his warts, and this is what makes you question how he ever won a championship.
Yeah.
I always thought, like, I know we're talented. I was just telling them, like, Cowboys are always talented, right? But a lot of it and I'm seeing it with Mike McCarthy. I always thought a playoff loss would come at the hands of a better coach. Doug Peterson, granted, the Jaguars, and I say this about the Jaguars, and what I'm also noticing throughout the league, just period. We're seeing Jacksonville now 6-8. There's a couple like 6-8 teams, 7-7 teams that, like, when you think of like the Jaguars, the Lions, you think of like, oh yeah, this is an easy W. You chalk up the W. These teams are no longer just pushovers.
The NFL, man.
Seriously, any given Sunday, and I think you're seeing with. Not just with the Cowboys, but teams that's hovering that we think are like bottom feeders, but they're close to 500 or 500, as I just mentioned. They're like, they can, any given Sunday, they can go into at home. It helps when you're at home too. They can go and beat and play with the league's best. We saw it with Kansas City. We saw Dallas. It happened to Dallas last week. We see it happen to Philadelphia occasionally, or Minnesota. Like it happens. So these games, I don't want like, it's a meltdown. The Cowboys should have definitely won this game. But I also want to give props and credit to Jacksonville, where I see Doug Peterson, a Super Bowl winning head coach, with a young and emerging talent in Trevor Lawrence. I think we're starting to see over the past like month, he's been blossoming into what.
He's been really good over the last month.
He looks really good. Now for the Cowboys, I think it's completely insane that we continue to have these hiccups in terms of coaching and mismanagement of time and mismanagement of timeouts and so forth. Like, I'm really, really trying to figure out who in the hell is our mathematician, because It's just beyond me that we continue to have these hiccups in terms of time management, clock management, play selection, and so forth. I always say, I like this Cowboy team. I think we do a great job, probably better than anybody else in football, in getting to the quarterback. But when it's time to actually stop the run, they struggle. They can't stop a nosebleed in terms of stopping the run. They can't stop a nosebleed. I see a team where if they were to go up against a 49er team, who I think is well coached, better coached, I just don't know if this Cowboy team would suffice, because I see talent-wise great, but the X's and O's, the actual tangible things that you need to win multiple playoff games in the same year, I don't think they have it. I just don't see it with us. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Then
go ahead.
Oh yeah.
No,
So
go ahead.
okay. So what I want to say about so the game. First, I was kind of like zoning out at some points again. I'm thinking the game's like kind of in the bag. Like, I know this NFL, so I know anything can win, and this is a good quarterback. I think like, really probably going to jump into some people's top 15s if he's not already in there this year. I'm like, okay, you have to watch it close. But I'm like, okay, we're up 17 points at some point. I'm like, oh, this has to be over because we can run the ball. At least I thought we could run the ball. Then somehow with both of our backs, they weren't. I mean, there were some good runs from both players. Overall, as a unit, it wasn't. It wasn't
dominant. It wasn't overly dominant. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, like, wait a minute, who's on this Jacksonville D line?
Well, remember they've been a top rushing defense for most of the year.
Yeah,
they have.
So, but I'm like, okay, Trayvon Walker's not there. Not that he's the star of the team. Clearly, he's not. But I'm like, okay, they're out of alignment. They're Arden Key, who's somehow the Cowboys killer, because we know the 49ers game, he damn near ruined that game. He was beating Tyron Smith. So we know that, we've had a problem with him before. But he beat Tyron Smith twice. I'm like, okay, they got to that. Which usually, Cowboys don't get sacked often. Like, okay, we're starting to get sacked. We can't run the ball. I keep asking my dad, like, Dad, is Michael Gallup playing? Because I have no indication he's out there. Like, and that's my main takeaway from this game was the Noah Brown drop pass. It's not that Noah Brown is a bad player. It's that Noah Brown's Noah Brown. He's a fourth receiver, a really good one. Had a heck of a day. But to rely on him in the clutch is the Cowboys' problem. This is why I told people I don't think the Ravens can go to the Super Bowl. Who is the receiver that Lamar Jackson can rely on in a clutch game? They have nobody.
Duvernay.
Like, that's the guy. If that's my guy, then I don't.
And with the Cowboys, like, if teams want a bracket coverage or double lamb, in many instances, that Noah Brown is your number 2. And I was telling Ron this, and I was like, remember when Michael Gallup used to be like our best
dog?
He used to be our best deep threat.
A dog. What happened? Well, okay. So, all right. So this is the issue.
And I give him a little bit of pass because of the knee. And I told Ron, I was like, let's see what he does next year. But I remember he used to be our best deep threat.
Yeah, and he could beat one-on-one coverage on a very consistent basis. Another issue I seen was, first of all, you're in these crucial game-defining moments, and why are you not finding ways to get the ball in the hands of CeeDee Lamb? And he's your number 1 guy. Why is he not
find a way? Is gonna get that damn ball,
or Tony Pollard.
Well, yeah, or Tony Pollard. But my thing is like, it's like they get in these big moments, and Kellen Moore, and I watched this a lot in the playoff, when they lost to the 49ers in that playoff game last year. And a lot of people critique me for this. But it's almost like Kellen Moore just throws his guys out there and he says, hey, just win on your routes. And it's the wildest thing to me. There's no offense. Like, even though the Rams were terrible this year, Sean McVay, by hook or crook, is going to get the ball to Cooper Kupp.
By hook or crook.
By hook or crook. That's an old school term.
Huh? You saw that in the Super Bowl. When guys went down, and everybody in the stadium knew that, Cooper Kupp is going to get this football.
Cooper Kupp. Oh, and you know what? Let me slide. I have to slide something in. Let's go over to defense. Okay. I'm going to say this for all my Cowboys fans that are watching, because I'm going to tell you guys this. Even though I'm a Cowboys fan, I argue more with Cowboys fans than non-Cowboys fans, right?
It'd be like that.
I have listened to you guys whine and complain about Anthony Brown for the last 3 years.
Ooh,
And watch this. No, watch this. No. And
Yeah.
now you get to see
Yeah.
what life is like without him. So you sit and you live in that shit. And you enjoy Kelvin Joseph and you enjoy Nashawn Wright. You have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just like when we had Tony Romo and people complained about Tony, he got hurt, and then
Hell yeah.
everybody's moping around. Oh, we miss Romo. No, you don't miss Romo. You talked about him like a dog. So
Like
now,
a dog.
like a dog. And to me,
Calvin Joseph was getting barbecue, like barber fries.
That was my biggest fear coming into this game. I knew this game was losable because of Kelvin Joseph. Like you're watching him, 2 touchdowns. They had to think about this. You allow 2 touchdowns. Think how bad you have to play for Dan Quinn to be like, bro, like you gotta go. Nashawn Wright hasn't played. Nashawn Wright hasn't played substantial defensive snaps all year. You played so bad that he said Nashawn Wright ran.
Like Nashawn Wright isn't even a good player. I love last chance you got.
Yeah.
Look, trust me.
His brother. That was his brother.
Oh, his brother.
That was his little brother. Yeah.
So I love the idea of him being on the field. And I love the big corners, Seahawks. He's not that guy. He's not Brandon Browner. I'm gonna let you know right now. He is not Brandon Browner.
Well, I will say this. He did look a little bit more. He did look a little bit more. Granted, it was towards the end of the game, so I mean, the sample size is a little bit smaller, but he looked a little bit.
Comments were getting, by the way.
Oh, and you saw me. I don't know if Ron saw me looking at this comment earlier. I'm like, who is this person talking about Cowboys?
Look, I ain't gonna lie, Facebook comments are going crazy right now. Like,
freaking nuts. Look, Dallas is gonna make the playoffs. That's not the question. I think the question was,
I think our conversation that we're having, it's deeper than like of course it's a given. We have 10 wins. We're gonna win another game or 2. It's like, what do we look like put in a situation versus Kyle Shanahan? Like we're looking at potential playoff matchup. Hey, Kenny, no, Kenny.
It pisses me off.
Kenny,
I'm pissed. I hate it. Because I don't think you mentioned Kyle Shanahan. I don't think this 49ers team is as good as last year's 49ers team. I think they're vastly overrated, in my opinion. But that's me.
You have been saying that.
Okay, it don't gotta be the 49ers. I'm just looking at it because we can both agree and attest that Mike McCarthy, first, we are not good in terms of discipline. They're undisciplined football team. Even when we are blowing teams out, I still see those occasional roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness.
Oh yeah,
penalties, and we're notorious for it. I see it even when we're winning. So I just threw out Cal in the 49ers because that might be a potential matchup we got to face, and we lost them last year. It could be any playoff matchup. All 3 of us can agree that we have our doubts about Mike McCarthy as a head coach in terms of clock management and in situational football. Is that not fair?
No,
that's fair.
It's fair. It's 100% fair.
Like you gave up 40 points to the Jaguars. And again, I think they're a rising team. But my question is, I said this was the best defense in the NFL. The best defense in the NFL just doesn't give up 40 points. I don't care who it is. You can't not give up 40 points.
Well, I'm not going to say that.
This is what I will say. I only give. I can. They're really hurt. I just got to throw that out there.
Yeah,
they're injured, and that's what I think scares me most is that they're getting injured at the wrong time. But then on the other end, we were talking about. Here's the crazy part. Let's say even Dallas wins this game, right? With all the injuries that they've had.
Yeah.
Ron heard me say this. We're talking about a 1 seed. I don't think this team is disciplined enough to handle 1 seed. Nope. I think that they take a week off and they get blown out. This is what I've noticed from us this year.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not making any prediction, but I'm trying to just get people to see the trend. Yeah. Anytime the Cowboys come off like an embarrassing, like head scratching loss, I feel like this team plays better when their backs are against the wall and no one is all in. Because I can assure you, even though the game is in Dallas and we have Dak Prescott back, we have Dak back, people are going to be like, hey, people go with Philly. People are not going to expect Dallas to win that football game. But it would not surprise me by the nearest. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Dallas win by two by 2 touchdowns. It wouldn't surprise me because this team plays better when like after the Green Bay loss, like they crush Minnesota. It's just instances like that where I feel like they play better when they got to go all in and no one is just for them.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna offer a humongous solution defensively, and people are gonna hate me for this.
Does it involve Micah Parsons?
Oh, 100%. He needs to play at linebacker.
Okay.
I love the flexibility of moving him to edge rusher,
Yeah.
but it's wearing him down. It is completely wearing him down, and you're wasting him. This is what you're doing. You're literally gift wrapping him to offensive coordinators. You're like, oh, okay, easy. We can game plan against them. You're not moving him around. You're not blitzing him up the middle. 8 of his 13 sacks last year came from blitzing from the linebacker position.
100%.
Why are you trying to make him a full-time edge rusher? You can use him at linebacker, use his speed, you can't tell me you watch some of the
linebacker. We need
watch this. We don't know. We don't know.
It's ridiculous. He's atrocious.
Well, I think it was a tough ask for him on some of those plays, on what y'all believe the coach did wrong with the clock. Well, I think it was the decision making. It was the decision making as a whole.
Yeah, it's not like we point out the clock because we hark back on situations that happened last year, and this year, but today. I think me and Kenny was talking about it, like that drive before Jacksonville.
There's a minute 31 left. A minute 31.
Yeah, like I felt like, okay, you ran the ball the first 2 times. It's 3rd and 10. You throw it, you get an incompletion. It's like, so it's not just play select, it's not just clock management and so forth, but it's a little bit of clock management because it's like, okay, if you run the football on 3rd and 10. And granted, you don't pick up the first down. You then you force Jacksonville to call the timeout. Like all of that is still a part of clock management. It don't got to be like a.
Or you run a better pass play. Like think about you. Like every receiver is clamped.
That's a low percentage.
It's Noah Brown 1-on-1 with a corner.
That's a low percentage play. That's a low percentage throw.
So okay, so this is what I think, and I said this earlier. They should have went pass on 2nd down. Right. After that fumble,
probably.
There's no you run the ball first down. First of all, they're expecting run, because they know you want to run the clock out. I'm going play action. I'm going bootleg. I'm something, and I'm putting the ball out there. And let's be honest. Let's say even if you don't get the first down, you make it a manageable 3rd down if you want to go for a pass. But you run it 2 times against a team that I think people keep forgetting this. That's a respectable run defense. They haven't been guys haven't been rushing. They have a way. Think about this. Dallas is a top 5 defense. Jacksonville has a substantially better run defense than Dallas does. So you run it twice on them, and this game defining. They've already made big stops all game.
Yep, in the run game.
In the run game. So I think for me it was just. I think you have to look at Mike McCarthy, because Mike McCarthy is an offensive coach or a quarterback whisperer. It's times like that where you have to make the big boy decisions. You have to tell Kellen, no, like that's not a smart play call. And I think you have to hold him accountable at the end of the day. That's just like a defensive coordinator making some boneheaded, and you have a defensive head coach. He's gonna be like, bro, like what the hell are you doing? It falls on you.
Yeah,
that's your wheelhouse.
Yeah, you're the coach. At the end of the day, you're the head coach, bro. Period. Like,
yeah. I'll say this. I think that this coaching staff, it needs for the talent to overcome their blunders and their mistakes. And when that can't happen, you get results like this. And I feel bad for Dak Prescott, because although I think Dak Prescott is really good, I don't think, it's not wrong to say this, he's never going to be a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh. He's never going to be that.
No, that's fine.
He's never going to. It's fine. You could win with him.
We're saying that with Justin Herbert. Like, Herbert's a hell of a quarterback. He can't overcome Lombardi as offensive coordinator. No matter how good Herbert is, he's not going to win a Super Bowl with that offensive coordinator. Or probably maybe Brandon Staley. It's hard to do that, bro.
Like, that's why it's a tall task when a lot of these fan bases want their team to pick the next Mahomes, the next Josh Allen. And it's like
Come on.
that, like them types.
Don't get me started.
They don't grow on trees.
You don't get Kenny started.
Look, me and Ryan. I hate.
Kenny hates that. So
I know
it shows you though. It's difficult. This is why teams that have a competent quarterback, like Kenny would say, you should keep that guy. You try to keep that guy because at the end of the day, if you're a good coach, we see Jimmy Garoppolo can get to the Super Bowl. Man, might not be the greatest guy, but if you're a good coach and a good GM, you could at least make the Super Bowl if you're good at your job.
Coaches don't want to coach no more, though.
They don't want to coach no more.
They don't want to coach no more.
McCarthy's done a good job this year. That's the sad part. Like overall, I think McCarthy's done a really good job this year. And it's like, if let's say we fire McCarthy, like the only person I would be comfortable with replacing him is Payton. Any other coach, I'm probably upset. Who off the streets is going to come like, oh yeah, he's better than McCarthy day one. Like it's probably just Sean Payton. That's it. So that's just part Cowboys plans are in too. It's even if McCarthy doesn't succeed this year, if you fire him, I genuinely don't know because I love Dan Quinn. I don't want to be our head coach. I'm not on that train.
Who
on that train?
Dan
Quinn.
Nah,
I don't want to be our head coach.
I mean, he was a respectable head coach.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm not saying I would want him to be a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
He deserves a shot, though. Just not with our team. I just don't want to be the head coach of the Cowboys, personally. He definitely deserves a shot. I damn sure don't want Kellen Moore to be the head coach. And so if we fire McCarthy, the only person I'm really comfortable with is Sean Payton. And if I have to go 1-for-1 with you, and the Chargers fire Brandon Staley, he sees Herbert over there. He's like, I love that. But this guy is special.
I think it's gonna be if this team. One, they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're making the playoffs.
But a first round exit, you have to fire Mike McCarthy. You got to
fire him too.
You have honestly last year. I remember after last season, I said you got to fire him because that team is too talented. Now I will
divisional round. I think he might divisional round. We're too talented to get out in the divisional round. This is a weaker conference. Like this, I'm not saying the NFC is just like garbage, but like there's no team the Cowboys be like, oh,
it's wide open.
We're scared of this team.
No, I don't think so. Well, once again, but it's not. But here's the thing: it's not talent; it's coaching.
Yeah,
and ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. It's not honestly. This is not about who has the better team because the crazy part is Dallas has talent on both sides of the ball. Offensively, Dallas should have a high volume passing attack. I really think Dallas has the weapons to have that.
Yeah. But
Kellen Moore is just, man, like he's so up and down. Like he is very inconsistent as an offensive coordinator. And it's scary. Sometimes I'm like, what the hell? Does he even know what he's doing out there?
Because he started off so good this game. Like it was an A+ first half. Damn near. And then for it to end like that, it's insane.
It's
like first half, like, oh, Kellen Moore, you're dealing like reverse here, this to Lamb, that to Lamb. We're getting, the tight ends involved. Like, oh, great play. Then it's like we just don't do it anymore. It's like, did you like run out of plays? Like, it's insane. Like, I think that's what scares me the most.
I think because they couldn't impose their will on the ground is what ultimately doomed them. Because they don't have any, they're still really trying to find that consistent passing attack. You have guys that are just coming back. I mean, you mentioned Michael Gallup, and man, I was laying in bed looking at the ceiling like, damn, like we signed Michael Gallup for 3-4 years. I'm looking at the ceiling, man, just spaced out. Like, I mean, yeah. And then, you got James Washington still trying to get his feet. We think Michael Gallup needs time. James Washington has been hurt all, hasn't really played. I mean, so we're hoping T.Y. Hilton, who's, I don't want to say been on the couch because he's been, we're hoping that he can come in. And then we're still doing this Odell circus that we could possibly sign him. I mean, it's very wild. But this is a team that really, outside of running, and when they can't do that, they don't have anything that they could really hang their hat on. And as far as Dak Prescott goes, I think people have to show him some grace. He broke his goddamn thumb on his throwing hand. And he's managed to come back and improve on how we was playing. Like, I mean, he missed weeks. I think forget how bad Russell Wilson looked after he came back from breaking his fucking thumb.
Oh, he looked
like, he looked terrible.
He had to recover, to be honest.
Well, look, you're right. He ain't been the same since. Yes.
I mean, I want to go on the Gallup thing with Gallup.
Mm-hmm.
That is gonna if he doesn't end up getting back to even close to player, this is gonna be this is a Jerry Jones. That is completely on you,
That's a
Jerry.
blunder.
Because you cut Amari for this. And none of us are just huge Amari fans on this stream right now.
No.
None of us are like, oh, we love Amari. Like, no, he's a good player. He's been solid for the Browns. He's a 1,000-yard guy. But he was 20 million and Gallup was 12. So if we lose a Super Bowl over $8 million, Jerry Jones, like that's I get it. It's a cap. It's not the NBA. It's going to be bad because Amari Cooper just makes better plays. For one, we know Amari Cooper and Kellen Moore offense. Kellen Moore is not the most creative guy sometimes. Amari Cooper does get open. Like
he
even
does.
when the offense is not as creative, he is going to get open.
He can
and
get.
Now that Lamb's gotten better.
Lamb's gotten better.
Oh God.
Well, so let me ask you this: do you think that it's Lamb has gotten better, even though he's improved?
Yeah.
Or do you think that CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott's connection has gotten much better? That's what I think, but
it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Of like it's similar with like Waddle and Tua. Like I think a lot of that is like Tyreek Hill just makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah,
but it's like no, I think their connection got better. I think with Dak and Lamb, their connection has gotten better certainly, but I think Lamb has just improved. Like
I mean, after the catch, he's one. What is he, top 5 right now? Like he's one of the best receivers when the ball's in his hand now.
I was a strength at OU.
Esque. Like, he's not that big, but he makes plays after the catch like any receiver in the league. He's one of the top at that skill, that was his calling trait at Oklahoma. That's what he was.
OU,
He was rock guy. So now I'm like, oh, I'm seeing that he seems way more confident now.
Yeah, of course. Well, and I think I've said this to Zay before.
Yeah,
they just need to continue to build the offense around what he does well.
Yep.
That needs to be the focus. And Dallas needs to stop. They need to catch up to the times. Teams force feed their number one superstar wide receivers. They force feed them. Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. They're like, if you're gonna beat us, it's because you're gonna completely take this guy away from. And then when you force feed them, guess what? That's when opportunities for other guys really open up.
Yep.
But when you say, "Oh, I'm gonna use this guy as a decoy," teams like, "Oh, they're not serious about getting this guy to the football." And that's what you're seeing from Dallas. Crucial moments. It's 3rd and 10. You throwing a go route, a fade route to freaking Noah Brown. You're number 4 guy.
Lamb, and he makes that catch probably because that was it
was a catchable ball.
It's a catchable ball. And it's like I can't be mad at Noah because Noah, you're not even on that talent level. Like
you know what's funny? I'm really not mad at Noah Brown at all because he's played so far above what everybody thought he was ever gonna play. So I will accept what we're getting from Noah Brown right now.
That's what I'm saying.
I just think it's just a blunder that he's the 2 guy. Like he's the number 2 guy when push comes to shove.
By default, though. I think it's by default.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. But however, and like you said, Noah Brown has been playing. He actually played well today. I thought, like he played.
Yeah, he did. He played well. He made some big catches.
He had a touchdown catch that took the lead. It's just that he made the one drop, but that's like he's overcompensating. Like he's playing a little bit above his actual ceiling. So it's like can't really get that mad at him, but it does show you that like we need another reliable option. This is why we're in the market for T.Y. Hilton. And
this is why Jerry's playing first for Odell. Odell one is different. He can't play that. But,
and look, I'm going to be real. To me, the best thing Dallas does right now is run the football, and you need to just build your offense out through CeeDee Lamb and your tight ends.
Yep.
Like, just go 4 tight ends. Like, that's the only time you guys get any semblance of continuity.
Yeah,
but when y'all go 4 and 5 wide, y'all just you haven't developed a passing game like that to continuously do it. Just put Peyton Hendershot, Dalton Schultz, and
boys can play.
Yeah, they can. Let these guys go ahead and get those reps, man. But because right now you're just wasting time, and you're putting Dak Prescott. Because I've been saying this all year. Everybody's like, "Oh, they having a lot of sacks." I'm like, bro, it's because Dak Prescott gets the ball out of his hands. He does his best to get the ball in his hands pretty fast.
They were last in like win rate, right? Like offensive.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. They're like bottom 5 in the league. So, That is the team that we're dealing with. But you know what? Okay, we'll see how they. I think next week's going to be a telltale. If they, I'll tell you this: even if they lose next week, as long as they fight and they make it competitive and they don't ran through, I think that we just need to see improvement over these next 3 weeks from the offense. And if the defense can kind of sew some things up, I don't know what injuries are going to look like this week. I think that's the biggest thing to look out for.
Yeah, that's my thought. Zay, what are your last thoughts? And we're gonna change topics.
My last thought is just I think this team play better when their backs are against the wall. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they were to beat Philly. But if they don't, that's fine. I just think we need to lock in, clinch a playoff spot. And we gotta I'm really concerned about our health and our secondary because the one, and granted, we rushed back well, so you would think with us being able to rush the quarterback, our corners wouldn't have to cover for so long. But that was honestly a scary sight to see, like what our secondary, like the DB1, DB2, 3, like that was really scary. So just them staying healthy and improving on trying to find their niche offensively in the passing game before the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a quick World Cup thing. I know people want to talk about it, so even if we all didn't watch it, we're just gonna do a quick thing. But before we do that, we do have a sponsor. We do have SnapTax. So this episode is sponsored by SnapTax. SnapTax specializes in getting you and your tax return the quickest, with no money down, with good price point. SnapTax allows you to pay your fees directly from your return, so we don't get paid until you get paid. To schedule your free consultation, call Ronell Proctor at 202-642-5099. Again, 202-642-5099. Okay, thank you, SnapTax. Now, with the Messi World Cup. Now, again, none of us are big World Cup fans. We're not going to be in here like, oh, man, I know what I'm talking about. So, like, I'm not the big soccer guy. I just watched the game. I thought it was an amazing final. Now, like, people, this is clickable. So I'm like, if any of you all watched the highlights, you watched the game, just what did you think about just the world, like the final?
You want to go, Kenny, or you want me to go?
Well, I really don't have much to say as far as I'm hearing people say that this is because this is my first World Cup even starting to follow because I'm really putting more focus towards growing and because it's a wonderful sport. Yeah. But I just want to give a shout out to I don't want to mispronounce his name, Kylian Mbappe. Oh my God. Mbappe, yeah. Talking about
the world.
talking with the team on your back. Like, we look at superstars in other sports, man. Like he let, I mean, I hate to use this phrase, but man, his nuts hang floor. Like, man, like I'm that guy.
$90 million. That's what he made this year, by the way. He's 23 years old. So me and him, basically, I'll be 23 on Friday. So basically, me and him are the same age. I'm being real. It's nice to see a black guy dominate soccer. Like, he might be from France, but this man is African blood. So I'm like, all right, he's black.
And he's already won a World Cup.
So, I forgot about that too.
He's already won one. So this is a guy that he's next up. Like, this is his, like, the next 15 to 20 years might belong to him. And he scored what, 4 times? 4 goals?
4 goals. Yeah, like, he scored the hat trick, then he scored the penalty kick. He was like damn the only one to score a penalty kick for his team. Everyone else choked.
So. Ridiculous. So yeah, shout out to him for bringing France back and making it competitive. Go ahead, Zay.
I was just gonna say, Messi and Ronaldo. That always used to be like a huge big argument. And like right now, like it's like Ronaldo, I think he has like the most Instagram followers.
He's the most famous player in the world.
Right.
Does he? Does he have the most Instagram followers?
Yeah, any athlete, yeah, he does. But Messi is creating some distance in terms of like player wise and legacy wise. I would just say this. I was similar to you, Kenny. I was kind of following it a little bit, and then as we got closer, I'm like, oh, okay. So we got France. We got a good matchup between France and
great names.
I kind of saw like some comparisons of like other sports and so forth in terms of like this is like Messi is like the GOAT, and he's at his peak powers right now, and then you got Mbappe like where it's like he's young and emerging. A lot of people were like, a lot of basketball heads were like, this reminded me a lot of like Kobe and Jordan going back and forth at it. It's like, I'm not saying he's got like, well, Messi's the GOAT. And a lot of people's instance, Michael Jordan's the GOAT as well.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of saw the comparisons, but it was
Similar
a
dynamic.
like similar dynamic where it's like a young gun. Brady Mahomes, we got, a couple years ago in the Super Bowl. It had that same similar feel to it. I thought the match was gay. I saw some highlights and so forth in the goals that were scored in, between both teams.
Yeah.
But like insane gameplay. I want to really get in more into the sport.
Yeah, I think, well, for one, if Americans were just not, the soccer, I would say, is like America's like fourth sport, and then realistically, it's probably not even above like UFC and boxing. It's probably like your sixth.
You said fourth. I was about to say, I'm like, you kind of giving a little bit too much.
So like this is for America. So I feel a lot of people were watching this day. This is why I want to talk about. I thought it was just it's one of the best games I've ever watched, like with excitement level. Again, Mbappe, that was a performance. That was like 2018 Bron, like before the finals. Like you're like, oh man, like this guy it's going against the Warriors. It's damn near just him. Even though France has other good players, they just didn't play well today. But regardless, he put on a hell of a show, and I'm keeping my head up. Like, of course, he's probably upset because they lost. But to score, like, again, your team scored 3 points. You have all three. That's in the World Cup final. Come on, that's insane. So hell of a game. Messi finally wins his first World Cup. Well deserved. Like, good for him. It's about time. The Ronaldo argument, pretty funny. By the way, Ronaldo has 518 million followers on Instagram. By the way,
Jesus Christ,
his like NFT page has 5 million. So this is where he stands in the social media world. He's he's an Instagram guy. So that argument is pretty funny now. And I know Ronaldo's my favorite player, like growing up. So, but look, the Messi is going to have the stats. He's going to have the championship. At this point, he's going to start spreading. Now, luckily, Messi got it this year because Messi is 35. Who knows? It's probably, I'm assuming, his last ride or one of his last rides. So again, I thought it was a great game. It was great to see. And like you say, it's like we guys had to see like Jordan and then maybe like this young gun Kobe. Like, man, this guy might be really good. Like, he might pass Jordan or he might not. It really just depends. So now I'm going to follow Mbappe's journey. Again, he's 23 France kid, made 90 million this year. Like, literal star. So that was fun. Any last thing in the World Cup before we move on to another interesting topic?
Nothing. I think it was, I talked about this on Rooted in Sports, but, I think it was this outside of the final. It was exciting to see a lot of smaller countries or lesser known in terms of winning it, during the World Cup start to really get some traction and show like, hey, like we're competitive. Like Morocco, what Morocco did is big. A lot of people look at it as a Cinderella story, but the truth is they're like, they trying to put their country on the map and show people that they're competitive too. Saudi Arabia did some good things, right?
Yeah.
So, I think I posed the same question. Like, man, we're watching those countries and a few others like beat teams that are substantially probably more talented than they are. What the hell is wrong with the U.S.?
I mean, we're saying it's like sports 6. All of our athletes are going to pick 5 other sports before they even give this other sport a chance. Like, you got basketball, you got football, we got baseball, we got UFC, we got boxing, damn near probably golf. I like golf. Like, we're people probably picking golf over soccer here. Like, so it's like we're getting damn near the flunkies kind of for our soccer team. That's when they aren't good players. We got Pulisic and other guys.
Or maybe it's not being offered or advertised. That's that. Yeah.
That's also it's
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not, getting Megan Good if you're, the local soccer player star. Versus we saw Reggie Bush date Kim Kardashian as a college player just because he played football. And for some black men, that's literally what you want to see.
This is true.
I need the money, I need the women, I need the fame. Like, you need all that. And just having one for some people, enough.
Look, look, he got Kim Kardashian without a job.
No job, no money.
He didn't have a job. He was jobless. He was unemployed.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna say no money because on the pivot, he said he didn't get paid. I want to spread the narratives, but you know what I'm saying. He had no money allegedly, so nothing. So look, that's what football can get you, and that's what we see. This is why even baseball, a lot of people not playing baseball because of the long it takes to get famous and money. So anyway, I got okay. Let me see. We got a comment on here. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna put that up. But okay, Anthony Davis injury. Now we do have a comment though. It said, "Hey, in the Fridays game, my Parsons jersey. Let's see how many comments I get. I know the bar's gonna be full of hang to the bar with a Micah jersey.
Hey, wear it proudly.
And he's just my friend. He's in DC too. So this should be Commanders
F
game. We should be interested. Right hand up, baby. But okay, Anthony Davis injury. Both now. Kenny, you're a Lakers fan, aren't you?
Yeah. Look during a season.
Respectfully, and then Zay, I don't even know. So you're a LeBron fan overall.
I like that LeBron's my guy.
Yeah, so LeBron fan. So same here. I just watch Lakers sadly way too much. For one, I think it's funny sometimes when they lose. I'm gonna be real because the team is just a very funny team this year with Westbrook and all these other guys. Then I get I'm getting messages from my friend like, "Hey, bro, AD's out for a month." I said, "Nah, it's his cap." Because I watched the injury. He didn't look that bad. But I don't know. He's 7 feet tall. Everything's a little worse from 7 feet tall. I'm like, oh yeah, I said yeah. He can't live it down. The street clothes narrative. You can't live it down. He's 28 years old, by the way. He's not that old. Like when Anthony Davis going out for a month after he's having a great year. What was your first reaction anyway?
My first reaction, and when I saw that we were talking about this, I was like, wow, okay, this is good. Anthony Davis was on a tear.
Top 10 player for sure.
Like he was on a tear defensively, even on his down years, like last year, defensively he was still an elite defender. He was an elite defender this year, but then offensively, like he's used like there was a stretch, even without LeBron, even with LeBron on the floor, he was starting to take control and kind of fill into that role that everybody in LA wants him to fulfill, which is like be the guy offensively every night. And you saw that. Now, I think part of it, the injury is just like, it's like, okay, of course it happens. But guys' bodies, and this kind of goes to show you the greatness of guys like LeBron, just the greatness of guys that are, year in, year out, they're the guy every single night. You start to appreciate that because some guys physically just can't do it. Like Anthony Davis, skill-wise, talent-wise, is otherworldly and amazing. But his body, like it's clear, like his body does not allow him to be the guy each and every night, 82 game stretch in the playoffs, year in, year out. You got to show love to guys like Steph Curry. You got to show guys like LeBron.
Curry be hurt too. Every year, Curry got a little injury.
Curry has his knickknacks, and even LeBron. Like it goes to show even LeBron. Since LeBron's got to LA, he's averaged 55 games a year.
That age,
age, wear and tear, and Anthony Davis is a young man. So he's 28. He's 28. So it's like it's unfortunate for him because he was having a really good season, and so it's unfortunate for the Lakers because I think he needs to be their best player in order for this little thing to work that they have. That like he needs to be their best player, and unfortunately, he's not there.
And Lakers have their pick, by the way. The Pelicans own the pick, so Pelicans might end up getting Wemby because that pick is going to be damn the number one pick.
That's going to be a damn good pick.
So
you're looking at Anthony Davis, like just genetic pool, physically makeup. He can't do it.
And I get tired of hearing people say, "Well, if Anthony Davis is stay, why are we still doing this? What if, or if he hasn't stayed healthy? Like he hasn't
hurt because it's going.
To happen. It's going to happen. And and I've with a lot of people about this topic. It's not that he's a phenomenal player. I say it all the time.
You can't question the talent.
You can't question the talent. I think what Giannis is now is what we thought Anthony Davis would be.
Yeah,
something similar with won multiple MVPs, face of the NBA. But the truth is, his injuries, his body has held him back, and unfortunately, that's not going to change. This is who he is.
Yeah.
But as soon as this happened, I instantly went back and looked at the Lakers' schedule this season, the games they've played, games they've won. I think we can go ahead and we can agree that their signature win of this season to show that, okay, we are going to be competitive is when they beat the Bucks on December 2nd. And just to factor in, they beat the Bucks 133-129. And Anthony Davis had to have 44 points.
Yeah.
For them to pull that out. 44 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists.
Historical game.
I want people to realize, if you thought the Lakers were back, them losing Anthony Davis for a month, it is going to be back. It's backbreaking for them, because they literally, what they said, they need to run what they need for him to be their best player and for him to be dominant for them to win. And now you're at, you kind of have to shift gears and you have to put the spotlight back on LeBron.
And it's no way. He's too old.
He's getting old. And it's crazy part. It's not that he can't play anymore, but you're asking a lot of him as a, what's he, 38 now?
It's impossible.
Yeah, 38. I think he's 38 or 38.
So a 38-year-old.
His birthday's this month. Did it pass already? Regardless,
no. It's the 30th.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he'll be like, he'll probably be 38 then, or something like that.
Yeah. You're asking a man that's pushing 40 to
pushing P
to play. Yeah, like to play all these minutes and to essentially carry you on both sides of the ball, or be a big component on both sides of the ball. Like, it's just such a tough ask. So I kind of feel bad for the Lakers, because I was kind of starting to like enjoy watching them play again, because I was liking some of the small role players that they have, and just seeing Austin Reeves, what's the kid's name? Is it Lonnie Walker? Like, they got some bodies, man. Like, they got some guys that's coming there to play, but it's just now they're back to, watch this. We've enjoyed watching the Lakers play over the past month, and they're still like the 12th seed.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the Western Conference.
If we want to really talk like X's and O's and like basketball wise, like schematically and how their lineups look,
it's crazy.
When we talk about Westbrook and the Westbrook, I think for me, we all know how we all know how we feel about Russell Westbrook.
Like, he's gonna give you energy, but like, come on.
The decision making, the lack of a jumper steal, it hurts him. And with him playing with Anthony Davis, kind of can mask those deficiencies to a certain degree. Like, the deficiencies, like his deficiencies and struggles, they're gonna show. Now,
even more.
I just think with AD, that pick and roll that they have, I think that lineup and that combination of Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, it helps mask his deficiencies. Whereas he's gonna be playing alongside another ball handler, LeBron James, and I think his deficiencies, just my opinion,
who's the Lakers right now?
His deficiencies are more prone to show. That, like, I don't think LeBron can mask, even at this stage of his career, as we talked about. I don't think he can masquerade Russell Westbrook's weaknesses.
No, he can't. He can't.
And their play styles won't allow them to. So I think that's even with thinking about AD or the Lakers without AD, you look at how LeBron and Westbrook are now going to have to play together. They're going to have to play a lot of minutes together.
It's like this Lakers team, man. I'm against a very fun watch because they're hilarious to see. Like, that's why I like even when they lose, I'm like, this is such a fun team to watch because they're just getting kicked around. Now without AD, who's the big? They have no big. Thomas Bryant, former Wizard, nah, he ain't gonna cut it. Damian Jones, former Warrior, he's not gonna cut it. Gabriel, a lot of energy there, but like talent is not there. So okay, so like, what are Lakers gonna do? For one, if I'm LeBron, I might shut it down. I can't lose years on my body.
No. He's going for the scoring record.
Like, LeBron can't take any more games. Like, literally, he plays. I think he's damn near pushing like Kareem probably in games. If not, he's already past Kareem in games. Like, he's played, bro. He went to the finals. What is it? 8 years or 9 years in a row? Something crazy like that.
Yeah,
that's how many games that.
And I think when we say 38, it's like, oh yeah, like old.
No,
but like it's like
he's like 43.
This wear and tear and his mileage, like, I'm
50.
surprised his tires still have spread. Like, it's crazy.
And you're like, okay, he's now our best defender on the court.
That's not
you
good.
Can't defend at 38. That should be 38. I'm like a DH in baseball. I'm not doing crap in defensive end at 38 years old. I'm just going to hit the baseball. Like, I'm not trying to go in the outfield. Like, LeBron, you should not be at the rim having to block every shot. That's for young legs. He's not young. You go ahead.
This is the solution. Move LeBron down in the post. He's gonna have to play the 4 or the 5. Let Russ be the let Russ be the primary ball handler from now on and just rock.
I think they're starting Dennis Schroeder though. Like that's like you muted Zach.
Oh, another like he can shoot the three, but not really.
Not good enough.
Not good enough.
Patrick Beverly, he's been horrific. He's been damn near for the league.
He's literally probably the worst qualifying offensive player in basketball.
He's shooting like 34% from the field. Not even funny. Like, come on, bro. I don't like.
And he's not strapping on defense.
Like he's been okay. Like nothing crazy. Like your offense can't be that bad. I don't care how good you are defensively. Your offense can't be like it's been bad.
Useless. 2 points.
So I want to revisit the Anthony Davis trade. So Lakers got a championship out of the trade. So I'm always for take the ring as a Cowboys fan. I know, or Wizards fan, you get that damn ring any way possible, even if it goes to shit. But Kenny, I know you're a process guy too. So you like sustained success. Anthony Davis trade, you lost Brandon Ingram, you lost Kyle Kuzma, you lost Lonzo Ball, you lost Josh Hart. These are great players. They all have a role in the league today, to this exact day. Do you think that the trade, like, what do you all think about the trade? Was it worth it? They have just like worked on BI and Kuzma, these boys.
Well, go ahead, Kenny.
I'll just say this:
Facts, Ira.
You gave up your future for a temporary win, and I could argue a very what's the word I'm looking for?
Lackluster.
Not lackluster, but very situate. Like you needed COVID to happen, and I'm not even talking about the bubble. Like you needed that layoff to get a healthy Anthony Davis to even have him in the playoffs.
Ensure that.
Yeah. So it benefits. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So it took a lot for you guys to be able to get that, but now you're set up to be one of the worst teams in the NBA. Honestly, and I'm not over exaggerating, for the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah. And it may sound crazy, but you don't have draft picks until, was it 2027, 2026, 2027?
That's insane.
Right? We about to go into 2023.
That's insane.
You don't get these guys signed humongous cap. These guys are big cap hits. Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. He just signed another contract. You don't have any capital that anybody really wants outside of the picks, but Pelinka's already said we're not giving up the picks. So it's kind of like you really don't have a leg to stand on, and this team isn't getting any better. While the Western Conference is continuously getting younger and better. That's so now. Everybody's like, oh, well, they got a championship out of it. Well, okay, well now you're going to be the worst team in the NBA, one of the worst teams in the NBA in the Western Conference for the next 5 to 10 years.
I say this.
Hope it was worth it.
Yeah. Rob Pelinka is not a good GM.
Oh, he's worse.
He's not a good GM. And I think the Lakers are in a very similar predicament that the Rams are in. The Rams are right now on pace. They're on pace to be the worst defending Super Bowl champion ever.
Ever. Yeah.
I think the team that has the worst record was the 99 Broncos. We all know why John Elway retired. So the Rams are kind of in a similar predicament where they made that trade for Stafford, and it's like, oh, they got the Super Bowl, but it's like you have no picks. You are in salary cap hell. You are salary cap strapped. And the same thing with the Lakers. The Lakers are probably in the worst predicament. With the Lakers and the trade of Anthony Davis, was it worth it? I think you had to make the trade, right? Like
they got fleeced in the trade though, but you have to make it.
You kind of had to, and because we can talk about Brandon Ingram, and who I really, really love. I always have loved his game since he came out of Duke, and the Lakers drafted him. But you were never going to get this Brandon Ingram that we are now, or that we have been seeing in New Orleans playing alongside LeBron James. Because he's the guy that
he's injured there. He's been injured in New Orleans too.
Right. He's a guy that needs the basketball. And so, granted, you look at it, it's like, damn, we got rid of Ingram, Ball, like picks, Josh Hart.
D'Lo.
I understand it. I understand why they made the trade, and they got a championship out of it, and ultimately that's what they wanted. But they had to make the trade with them getting LeBron, and like that first season going the way it went, even though when LeBron was healthy that first half of the season, they were a playoff team. They were a top 4 team in the Western Conference, but clearly they weren't going to win the championship with that roster. So they needed another guy. They got another guy, and they got a guy in Anthony Davis who was like
top 10 player.
Probably, like a top 10 player. Like he was like the best basketball player that nobody really talked about. Like in New Orleans, like we like a walking 24 and 11, but like he played in New Orleans. They weren't winning a lot of games. They got to the playoffs a couple times.
Kevin Garnett-esque in New Orleans.
Like it was just like, so they made that move. They got a young star with LeBron. It's like, okay, once LeBron gets older, he can hand the mantle to Anthony Davis, because we, as you said, Kenny, what we're seeing from Giannis and the dominance from Giannis, a lot of people thought that would be Anthony Davis, because like a lot of people thought that would be AD, and it just hasn't materialized that way. And I think it's like we can always look back and say, hey, they shouldn't have made that trade because we see how it's going now. But I still think you make that trade.
Yeah. Now look, if
2020's hindsight.
Yeah, first, we are looking at hindsight. I still think I would have made the trade. One, because it's really hard to pair 2 top 10, and we could say at some point these were 2 top 5 players in the NBA. It's really hard to pair them, and they actually were playing good together.
Yeah,
you did lose a lot. Now you were fleeced in the trade, yes, but New Orleans might not ever even capitalize on what you gave them. You could just still give New Orleans all this. I like their number 1 seed right now. They're a really good team. But and they still might not get to the heights.
What happens if Zion Williamson gets hurt? Then what?
Because I love Brandon Ingram, but if this is Zion. If Zion's going to play, then okay, they have a shot, because he's going to be the most dominant player at the rim in every game he plays, unless they play the Bucks. You'll have a shot. But if he gets hurt, like they're done too. So that's and it's like, okay, let's look at the New York Knicks. Great team, they're going to sell tickets just like the Lakers. Would the Knicks rather have their last decade, or they just want to have 1 chip? Because they suck anyway. Like they suck anyway, bro.
I mean, I get it.
So it's like that for some teams, like the Lakers, the Knicks. Like there's just so like
you go big or you go home, especially in LA.
Like, it's LA. It's like the capital. I mean, can you know, man? You live there, but like, or you in the area. So like, you know how it is out there. It's like that's like look at the Dodgers. They're going for it every year.
And I mean, I guess true. And I guess I understand that, but for me, it's just like, the Lakers have been so lazy when it comes to developing players, and it continues to show its head over and over and over and over and over again. Every other franchise can develop players. I mean, because we can say we want to say the Pelicans, New Orleans took time to build around and develop Anthony Davis, right? Even if he never reached ginormous heights with them, they were committed to developing him as a player.
Yes, they were.
But the Lakers just don't have that type of patience.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a very unfortunate thing to watch, because I think at some point they're going to need to commit to somebody, as opposed to going and grabbing a guy that is already 4 or 5 years into the league and has kind of established his name and built his skill set. At some point, they're going to have to do that. That's
why I say, like, in LA, every team goes for it. Like, from the college teams with USC, like USC took a big swing with Lincoln Riley. They didn't think they can get him. It pans out. Like Dodgers, Rams, hell, even the Chargers. Chargers spent a bunch of money.
Crap, UCLA left the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah,
like go for it.
I mean, they're trying to go for it.
Yeah.
And with the Lakers and Kenny, I'm not saying your point is wrong.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But this has always kind of been like the Laker way. They went out, like they got an older Will Chamberlain to pair up with Jerry West just so they can get over the top. And LG, like they Gail Goodrich, like they got an older Wilt. Wilt was still pretty good, but like he was older headband Wilt. You know,
older Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
They got Kareem that was well into his prime. Shaq with now
August.
The one time that they did where it's like it actually like materialized and panned out was Kobe.
Right. He's probably we could say he's probably the only player they've ever really developed.
But guess who was who was in charge of basketball operations then? Jerry West. Jerry West, one of the best.
And he's there. Actually, he's the other one too that was drafted there.
Right.
It was West before Kobe.
If not the best executive in basketball in NBA history. So you got that, and then you think about like Kobe, Gasol. Like they continue to do it.
Trade, yeah.
So that's their thing. Like that's the Laker way. It's like the get rich quick scheme. Like we're gonna do it
Pyramid Lakers. Way. The pyramid scheme Lakers.
Yeah, like pyramid scheme Lakers. That's what we should call it. The pyramid scheme Lakers.
Oh Lord.
Each and every decade in the whether it's
coin
the
that
70s,
coin
80s,
that term. Coin that name.
Yeah. Like that's what they do. They go out and they get their stars. They go big or they go home. And granted, I think you're spot on. I think over the next 5 to 10 years,
they're gonna be bad. They're gonna be bad.
You have LeBron, so they'll sell tickets though. That's
I mean, is he gonna be there that long? You think he's gonna be there that long? You think he's gonna lose for that long?
Yeah. Only reason I said it because his son's there. But his son's about to, but you have Bryce too, because Bryce is only a sophomore. So I think Bron. So it's clear that LeBron first is trying to break the scoring record, Kareem's scoring record. That's clear. Are you gonna break it this year?
And then he's also trying to play with his son. That's clear too. After that, I don't see him playing. I don't see him playing after that.
I think he knows that he'll never win another championship in the NBA ever. Yeah. I think he's came to terms with that, and you could tell it in his demeanor.
With him,
he knows it.
With him re-signing with the Lakers, like he signed a contract extension,
2 years. So
he knows how bad the front office is. He knows the predicament that without outside of the bubble year, you have a lost year where he got hurt and missed a lot of time. They missed the playoffs. And like I said, exclude the bubble year. Then they got a first round exit due to Phoenix. Phoenix went on.
And Davis went down that series too.
Right. And then, right. Great point. And then last year, which was like an abysmal year. And then you have this year where like, I don't think it's going to get any better than the last results. No. So he's fully like, he knows that the management terms of like GMing, the exec, like bad. It's bad. And he knows it. And he still signed a contract extension. What does that tell you?
Now, let me say this, because I know you're probably gonna go to the next topic, but just this is what I'll offer this. We can be critical of Rob Pelinka, but Rob Pelinka could have easily looked like a genius had LeBron never pushed to get Russell Westbrook to the Lakers. Like Rob Pelinka could have looked like, okay, he's doing a job.
Do that though. He didn't have to do it. He is a GM.
But
LeBron.
I blame LeBron. That's where I blame LeBron, because LeBron shot himself in the foot, knowing damn well that he was not going to change Russell Westbrook way.
Well, I guess.
So we have to look at it like this. Even though Rob Pelinka is not a great GM or anything, I could say that he looks a lot like, looking at the product, what's on the court right now. What the hell else was he supposed to do with not a lot of money to toss around? He doesn't have, like, some of these players that the Lakers have, like, who do people really want to trade for? They're not going to give up Anthony Davis. Nobody, and not too many teams want Russell Westbrook. And he's been playing good. Exactly. Right. Possibly nobody.
And even if the Lakers wanted to give it to Anthony Davis, what are teams willing enough to give up an injury-riddled Anthony Davis? Great.
I generally couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
So each and every avenue, Kenny, like you hit on, like there is no path. Like, to put it in perspective, how bad, like in terms of, and we can, you said Rob Pelinka, if he doesn't make the move for Russell Westbrook, he looks like a genius. But even past Rob Pelinka, I want to show you like the dysfunction in terms of the Lakers. They literally a year ago just got done paying off Luol Deng's contract.
That's a fact.
If that doesn't encapsulate and tell you everything you need to know, then I don't know what does. I don't know what else I can tell you. They literally just got done paying off Luol that same offseason where they gave Timothy Mozgov the bag. Remember that?
I remember that.
They gave Timothy Mozgov the bag and Luol Deng the bag too.
$72 million.
Literally just got done paying that contract off.
Look, man, my last thing with the Lakers, man, like Kenny kind of said, they're gonna be bad for some years. Pelinka, look, I get that LeBron asked you about Westbrook, but look, he asked for a lot of stuff in Cleveland. David Griffin told him, nah, bro, we're good, actually. Like, he tried to get a lot of people to Cleveland, bro. And David Griffin was like, nah. And then David Griffin started getting so mad, he actually stepped down. And now they have a new GM. Now David Griffin's actually in New Orleans, by the way. This is why New Orleans looks so good.
Doing a great job, yeah.
David Griffin's a hell of a GM. He's actually stepped down.
Yeah.
So, like, you look, Blinka, I agree. That look, like, okay, I just believe in LeBron. I do get that mentality. But
or maybe he just folded under pressure. Maybe he
folded
just
under pressure, man.
Yeah.
And now this team's going to suffer because now look, okay, Westbrook contract comes up at the end of the year. Who the hell are you going to replace him with? You have no money still. There's still no, like, where you go. Okay, Westbrook, you're going to lose Westbrook. You're not going to, like, who are you going to replace him with? Like another max guy that's going to fix the team? One guy who's going to fix the whole Lakers.
You said who?
Dennis Schroeder.
I can't. Like,
he watch this. And I'm sure Dennis Schroeder, if he could rewind back 2 to 3 years, he'd have.
He would take that bag. He would take
it.
$40 million. 84. He got offered 84. He should take. He couldn't even get 30 million today.
That man said, "I'm betting on myself."
The biggest L
lost
in history.
And lost. But hey,
man. Okay, I want to just before we leave. Yeah, it was a bunch of crazy NFL games besides the Cowboys today. Mm-hmm. We had that New England game, if people saw that, where they're trying to, it's 24-24, they're tossing the ball around. Next thing you know, they toss it to the other team. And then, Mac Jones almost physically passes to the next world after a stiff arm.
Mac Jones got shoved into hell.
Like, I'll find the meme as someone goes, but it was bad. So, I've already found it. You just go on Twitter. Let me see if I get it.
Yeah. God bless him.
Like, he was blessed. Literally, you're right. He was blessed into the turf. So, like, it was, and they lost that game. But besides that game, and it could be this game too, is there any other game that just stood out for you all day watching the NFL?
Definitely.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Zay.
No. Go ahead, Zay. You got it.
I was gonna say definitely the Chiefs Texans game.
Yes,
because it kind of it harks back to my point that I was making earlier about the Cowboys, where or Jacksonville more so. We're seeing a lot of these teams that like I said, notoriously we think of as like bottom feeders. Like when you think of the Jaguars and the Lions, you're like, oh yeah, they're a dumpster fire. But you got to give a really, really big shout out to Doug Peterson, Dan Campbell. Like we're watching a lot of coaches around the league, and not even the guys that we all love and come to love. It's the guys that like we're not quite sure about. Like we're not quite sure about Dan Campbell. I wasn't quite sure about Dan Campbell. He got something going on. He's doing something. Damn it, he's doing something right in Detroit. They're 7-7 with a chance at the play. Like they got. I mean, Detroit fans are probably rejoicing that they just have a better record than Green Bay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like, I think, granted, Houston, they're not very good. We know this. In Kansas City, they once again, it's crazy to me that the AFC West, the Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, spent nearly damn near $1 billion just so that the race is over in the AFC West. And these three teams spent like $1 billion combined trying to compete with Kansas City. Mind you, Kansas City lost Tyreek Hill. I never questioned whether or not they would be good again. I don't know why we did that, but it just goes to show you the dominance that we're seeing from Kansas City, but also these teams that we are that's notoriously known for being bad and having hiccups. Like they can go and play with the best of the best any given Sunday. And I know that's like cliche, but no, literally, like we have teams that we don't think that are necessarily good. Like I don't think Jacksonville's that. Like I don't think they're bad, but I don't think they're a good team. I think they're a really young team that's rising and emerging, like with their quarterback. So I look at games like that. Kenny, I was gonna put on another game, but Kenny, you got another game?
Well, no. I was just gonna kind of piggyback off of what you were saying. I think
I had another game in mind. I said I discussed
what other game did you have in mind?
Chargers Titans. Like
that one surprised me.
Chargers Titans. Chargers got the big time dub. well needed for them. I look at the Chargers and I granted, I'm not so sold on the coaching staff, but over these past couple weeks, Herbert has really stepped up to the plate. Herbert's got some signature victories. And with the Titans, I think early on they were a team that were playing a little bit over their heads. Like, and that goes to show you how great of a coach Mike Vrabel
is. Yeah.
Because like, granted, the Titans, they have an identity, but how many carries did Derrick Henry have?
21.
So yeah, like I tweeted out, I think he had like 16 carries, and I was like, you're not gonna run the football with Derrick Henry against this Chargers front.
They can't. They're the worst for like rush defense like in NFL history.
Why not? And I was so confused by the play calling, but overall, like I look at Tennessee, it's like great culture. They have an identity. They're gonna punch you in the mouth, but ultimately they're very limited offensively. And it's really, really been showing over the past couple weeks where they have gotten behind in some games.
Yeah.
And they have had to try to throw themselves back into games. And you can just tell Tennessee, like first half of the season, they were beating up on the bad teams on their schedule. But you see the teams that they've lost to, they're pretty good teams. So you could tell like they were playing a little bit over their heads. So I was a bit surprised by that too. But
Herbert looked good today.
Really went from the Chargers.
Like Herbert, like you said, Herbert's made some clutch plays in the last 2 games. It's helped, debunk the social media QB that Archo was pushing for.
That's corny
for so long. So I think we can debunk that at least. I'm pretty sure people like to see him in the playoffs. So would I.
So what'd you say is corny?
The social media QB thing.
Oh.
That's corny. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go on a rant. I don't want to go on a rant about this. But like Kenny, and even Ron, like you guys know, I deeply study the quarterback position. I watch these quarterbacks. I do deep dives on tape, and I think it's just complete. Like when I hear people just say that, I'm like, I can clearly see that. Like you're trying to get ratings, but. That the whole social media quarterback thing was so corny to me.
He said Tua over Herbert.
Jersey. It was just so.
Well, let me say this, and let me say this. I know I won't agree with everything that individual said, but I will say this. I mean, because you don't want. First of all, let's not give people free ratings and free press out here.
This is true.
Yeah, I do think that. He should be held like him winning games like this, despite having a less talented team. He has to win those games. If he's a generational talent, you have to win those games. So we can't keep saying, "Oh, the talent disparity in the NFL is so large or so big," but then when these talented guys get put in a position where they got to win, they lose, and then we make excuses for him. Oh, well, he's lose. No, but if he's talented, he should win that game that a less talented quarterback can't win. So Tua, and I wasn't a big, I think Tua has a lot of limitations. I think he's in a good system, something that fits him, and I think he can be very successful in Miami. I never thought he was better than Justin Herbert.
He's cool.
Yeah, but he was very. I think he was right in being critical of. Cool. I think that he was cool. You said what?
That's like Tua's cool. Like I'm agreeing with you. Like Tua's all right.
No. I think no. Here's the thing. I think he can be a 1 to 2 time Pro Bowler in Miami, and that be who he is. I think he could be for Miami what Brad Johnson was to Tampa Bay.
Hey, look, that I think it's funny when we I think it was and Kenny, you made a great thought in terms of Herbert does need to be held accountable, but I say
he has to.
In terms of the comparison between Herbert and Tua, I laugh. And you hear certain GMs were asked, "Hey, who are you taking?" They're like, I think it's that's why I mess with Ron. I'm like, "Oh, Tua's cool." Like they all the GMs are like, "Oh yeah."
Bro, the Dolphins would trade Tua for Herbert. The Dolphins would trade him. His own coach would trade him.
Yeah, I like Tua. I think Tua's cool. I just find it funny.
Why
I just don't like. I don't think that's the most accurate comparison because Justin Herbert is so much more talented than a lot of other guys. I just think the argument for Tua was more on when you look at not just the National Football League, but the college career. from a success standpoint. And the truth is, I'm gonna be honest, you guys. If you'd have told me that Justin Herbert was gonna be this guy, I'd have called you a goddamn liar. I didn't think he was gonna be this guy.
I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, we've never. First of all, we've never seen any Oregon quarterback come into the National Football League and be successful.
And tear it up.
All of them have been bad. But when you watch him, he just looked like another cliche, big armed. Big body.
Lynch. I thought it was gonna be Paxton Lynch.
I will say this about Herbert in college and how a lot of scouts perceived him, and or the misperception was. And I'm not saying you guys are wrong. Like,
yeah,
agreed. And I probably couldn't predict how good he was going to be at this point, or even his first year when he came into the league. I would say this with Oregon and his time in Oregon, especially his last 2 years. Mario Cristobal, former offensive lineman, he loves to run the football. In my opinion, looking back at some of his Oregon tape, I kind of identified, and not to say Mario Cristobal isn't a good coach, because I think he is, but I identified where like Herbert was super, super uber talented, as we all know and see. But the schemes, like their system that they were running at Oregon was very run heavy and run dominant. So
yeah,
like you would see flashes of it, but we like you really couldn't tell that he would like materialize into what he's been
of course
so far. If you go back and look at the tape, I don't think the scheme was the best fit for him, and that's because Cristobal, like he's a like I said, offensive line guy. So he's gonna run the football. He's about toughness, physicality. That's what like stylistically Oregon kind of flipped between like what we used to see from Oregon and like what you see Oregon under Cristobal, where they would like hard-nosed physical football team.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Herbert has a lot of talent. He does have to win more games, and he does have to overcome. But like he also like it's like bro, he plays for the Chargers too. This is another one of those teams I just never figure out since I've been 4 years old. It's like always some BS that happens to them. It's like the Cowboys in a way. Even this
they're the Cowboys of the AFC.
Like this year, you signed J.C. Jackson, who's a top 10 corner before this year. I don't care.
He looked terrible.
He's literally now, to be fair, he suffered an injury. He came back too early. He looked bad, I think, because of the injury. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but regardless, he was literally great as the worst corner by Pro Football Focus in the NFL.
Yeah. They had to bench him.
Had to bench him. He's now on IR, so like now he's thank God he can recover. Hopefully, bounce back by next year. You paid him. You signed Sebastian Joseph Day to stop the run game. He hasn't really done that. I mean, he's been okay, but he hasn't fixed it. Derwin James was hurt for all those years. This year, Mike Williams goes down. Kenny Allen, it's like his third game this year.
I think before today, Austin Eckler, Herbert, Allen, and Mike Williams haven't played a snap together.
Oh yeah, I think it was like Mike Williams and Kenny Allen played like 40 snaps.
Like crazy.
It's insane, bro.
And they missing the left tackle.
Rashawn Slater.
He had an all-pro caliber year as a rookie. So like Herbert missing him, and like I said,
those was out.
We put like
both in the top 5 of his position, top 10 his position. Like he's been out since like week 3. Like bro, they're missing so many guys. I'm not even sure if Stay is the coach. I know the offensive coordinator isn't the guy. So it's just like, bruh, like it's just too much going on in LA. You go ahead, Kenny.
No, I was about to say, like, I get everything that you're saying about the Chargers. I'm never gonna make an excuse for talented players. If you're talented and you're a generational talent, look, figure it the hell out. Figure it out. Like it's not really much we can say, but I'll say that about quarterbacks. Now, kind of answering earlier what I was going to say about when we were talking about some of the games today. Obviously, we've seen Kansas City. We've seen Dallas lose to Jacksonville. We've seen people not talking about this, but Philly was on the ropes. The Bears weren't playing around with them.
Justin Fields, another show. Another show he's playing this year.
And exactly. He's very impressive. I think we're getting to the place in the National Football League where we have to stop using the word bad teams. Because Houston, if you watch them this entire year, they've never been a lay down team.
No, they haven't.
They're just a team that lacks. Huh?
They gave Philly some goal that Thursday night. We all talked about it.
Exactly. So this isn't a team that you're finna go in there and do whatever the hell you want to do. they're going to fight you tooth and nail, and you're going to have to earn that win. So they may only have one win on the season, but them 10 losses, them teams walked out of the stadium like, hey man, we just got into a fight. So, and then now you're looking at, everybody knows I've been high on the Lions. Now we're looking, the Lions can make the playoffs.
Actually make the playoffs.
But we were making this same point about the Lions 7 weeks ago when they started off 1-6, and we like, well,
this is
this is probably the best. You said it. You was like, this might be the best 1-6 team that I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, Kenny, but no, this is like, okay.
You see how I get treated?
No. Like, no. Okay, like the best 1-6 team ever. Okay,
but it's showing now, right?
It's showing. They lost a lot of close games.
Yeah.
And that's all that, like, literally, I'm like, I look at the Vikings and I'm like, I don't think you look at the Vikings
10-2 team or 11-2. They're that good.
I don't think they're all that good. I think I'm not, I don't want to say it like that, but I think for the Vikings, a team like the Vikings, the mere fact that, I know they got the big time win on Saturday, but there's no reason why you should be down 33 points to that Colts team.
Yeah, I
look at the Vikings and I'm like, too many times they have had instances and performances like this where I can't like just say they're a great team because their record says so.
No.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, when I look at the Lions, they've lost a lot of close games, but the Vikings won a lot of close games. Like, so like it's a make-up play league. It's a game of inches.
No, it is.
Yeah.
And when speaking of Minnesota, I mean, to me, they're just a finesse team. They're very talented, but they're a finesse ball club. They're not the Minnesota we saw for years and years and years and years and years before this, where they were a defensive led team and they were running the football. They're just not. Yep. They're not that same team. They're more Mike when they had Mike Zimmer and they had a defensive led head. It's just different. So it's not pretty, and obviously there are some times where they look soft, but we do have to respect what they've done. Winning close games is big to me. Winning close games at times can be more impressive than blowing people out, because winning close games shows what you're made of as a football team.
I think sometimes and it's the tricky thing, because sometimes winning close games, I think, is a skill. To your point, I think it's a huge benefit when you're really good situationally. Like, we were talking about the Cowboys, we're like, they're not good situationally. But with Minnesota, I also see, like, I see points or games where they just come out really flat, and it makes me wonder, like, okay, I know they've won a handful of ball games and so forth. And their schedule, look at their schedule. They've played a pretty soft schedule for the most part. But I look at Saturday. Granted, the Cowboys beat up on them pretty bad, and the Cowboys are a pretty good team. But that, I feel like that could be a playoff game. Like that I don't know. I just don't think they're a great team. I think they're a good team. I think they're a top 10 team in this league, but I just don't think they're a great team. That's
if we were to make comparisons this year's NFC playoff picture and last year's, I would say Minnesota is Arizona from last year.
Facts.
That's who they are. They have talent, they have players, but they're the matchup everybody wants.
Yeah.
No, that's facts. They want to play like
that's true.
Yeah.
Like the Vikings,
so
bro,
I mean,
like, every win has been a one-score game that they've won this year. They're the worst team, like literally in NFL history by the DVOA stat. They are the literal worst team by the stat. To have that record, like to be 11-2, like by that stat, every team is 11-2 in NFL history. They're the worst team that, as long as that stat's been taken. So I'm like, okay, like this, like it's good. It's good, like to win close games, but we know it doesn't traverse season to season. It's hard to keep winning close games. Like you can do it 1 year. Next year you'll lose half of those games.
That's literally with the Vikings though. Like they lost all the close games last year.
So it's like that's just what the NFL is like. So it's like, okay, next year they'll probably be the Cardinals. Like they just won't win as many games. Like it's like we have to just wait on that. Then it's like, okay, if they play the Lions, I would put my money on the Lions. I really would. I'm telling people, if they see the Lions in the first round, I think the Lions have a chance to win the game. There's
What
no
did their
reason.
last game look like? Because I if I'm not mistaken, I know the Lions didn't beat Minnesota, but I know
Did they?
I
No,
think
they did.
Minnesota had
The Lions did. The Lions did beat Minnesota.
They beat Minnesota.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Mhm.
like I totally see. Okay, my bad. And here's the thing: it's kind of like weird now because like Minnesota, like when they traded T.J. Hawkinson, it was like Detroit's kind of like they're not buyers.
That's crazy. I'm
Now it's
trade.
like they're and Detroit can't win the division. They won't win the division.
No,
but it's like they're trying to get into a playoff spot, but they traded one of their best players to the division foe, who is in the lead of like it's just weird. It's
they didn't
funny.
really use a Hawkinson though. I sound like maybe it's the Hawkinson problem. Because if you again, he's Kenny said earlier, like he's talented. Like, damn, bro, you gonna show it every once in a while. I mean,
yeah, because like
Hawkinson's a big game.
I think talent wise, he might. I think he's better than Dallas Goedert, but Dallas Goedert is damn it productive. He's like Dallas Goedert's productive as hell. So I look at
You guys talking about TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah. I think talent wise, like measurables,
he's a first round pick for a reason.
Yeah, like measurables, he's better. He's probably like he probably beats Goddard, but Goddard
too. My guy,
Goddard's entered the league. Even when he was playing behind Zach Ertz, Goddard has always been pretty productive.
Yes,
I agree.
So I think with Detroit, to your point, I think with Detroit, it's like it was probably like a scheme fit issue. Like schematically, they didn't know how to utilize him.
Well, I think they got rid of him. I think this was he's always injured because he's a very injury prone player. That's one thing I will give him. But he's actually had some really great performances for them. He's had a few games where he had 120, 130 plus yard games.
He had one game. He had a game where he had 179 yards for Detroit.
Yeah,
that's the only 100-yard game this year, though. By the way,
yeah,
but he did have that game.
So he's definitely flashed for them. I don't think it's anything with his play. I think they just kind of had to weigh, risk and reward. Are we willing to pay this guy who, although he's great, contract year, he's always hurt.
We got David Williams now.
Exactly. So I think for them, and I think they felt like they had sufficient enough talent at the tight end position that they were going to be able to make it through. So I mean, you can't get mad at the decision, and they have so many.
I like them trading them, to be honest. Now,
yeah, they have so many. Now I wouldn't. Now I'll tell you this: I never will agree with an in division trade. I never will. So that caught me off guard.
They did get a 2 though. They got a 2 for Hop,
and I think he's worth a 2.
That's pretty. That's a good pick.
That's a good pick. Yeah, I definitely think he's worth a 2. But it's smart because you're right. They do have an embarrassment of riches at pass catch. Jameson Williams back, still got St. Brown, got DJ Shark back. Like they got some bodies, man. Not even mention DeAndre Swift out the backfield. So I mean, it wound up being a good trade for them. And now that team is. I mean, man, I almost get jealous. It's funny because I'm a Cowboys fan and we're now 10-4, and I watch the Lions. And I'm like, man, I wish we had that type of offensive continuity. Firepower. And not even just firepower, just like a system that has a plan, has an attack plan.
I like the coach. I like the offensive coordinator for the Lions.
I was just going to say Ben Johnson is going to be. He's going to like over the next couple of years. He's going to be one of the hottest, like sexier names on the market in terms of a team.
He has a scheme.
He has a scheme.
What's Kellen Moore's scheme? Which Lions guy's scheme? I couldn't.
You know how we can always like identify like. We know Kyle is known for that zone power running scheme.
Like West Coast guys.
With Sean McVay, finesse, getting scheming guys open. It's funny how we can name and like identify certain coaches' schemes.
Yeah.
You can't do that for a guy like Kellen Moore.
You remember the hype on him, especially last year was he had an offense with it was a offense that was like water and it could mold and you can run the football and you could pass. It had no identity. It was an offense with no identity, and everybody would buy it because you could beat defenses in so many different ways. Well, how the fuck does that look now? Excuse my language. How does that look now? It looks embarrassing now. That's why I think it's so important for them to get the right matchups, for them to get the correct matchups in the playoffs. Because if they I as much as it pains me to say this, because I think this team is a little overhyped, just a little bit. I wouldn't want to see Dallas play the 49ers right now.
You wouldn't. And that's all
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And I wouldn't. And it's just because I know defensively they will be able to slow down the run. And if you take the run away from Kellen Moore, cancel Christmas, because he's not going to scheme guys open. It's going to be really, really tough.
And we can't stop the run, Kenny.
Can't stop the run.
We can't stop the run.
McCaffrey.
The 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. I just told you.
Funny enough, I'll take Dallas against Philly because I know you can run on Philly
for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk another matchup that I watched. Cincinnati beating Tampa Bay, and I start with Cincinnati.
Man,
they're tough. They're tough.
I like Cincinnati. Is really good. So they faced a 17-point deficit. And I don't know about y'all, but the second half of the season of their season last year is kind of resembling it this year, where like they're getting hot and they're catching their stride and they're coming up with some big time W's. I love how Cincinnati plays against certain teams, like the cream of the crop. They play so freaking well. And I look at they played one of the worst first halves that I've seen. And then in the second half, it was a complete switch. Now, some of that is due to Tampa and Tampa just like folding like a lawn chair. But then also, like, I look at Cincinnati, this Cincinnati defense, they don't get talked about enough. Like they have a top 10 defense and they don't get talked about enough. And it's because they're missing Trey Hendrickson, their best pass rusher. Like they're missing Awuzie, their best DB.
That's crazy.
They don't get talked about enough as a unit, and I think a lot of it's because like they don't have like that. They don't have a Bosa or a Parsons or a Aaron Donald. They don't have a household name that we can. Oh, okay, but like they are great as a unit. Juan Pratt, he's contract year. He's really been balling. I like this Cincinnati team, and then offensively, we all know what they can do in the passing game. But I told Kenny this. I was like, you look at their running attack with Joe Mixon because they found something with Mixon when Chase was out, and I'm like, if we know their passing game is elite, if they can run the football with similar effectiveness, this team is. Kansas City don't want to see this team. Buffalo don't want to see this.
I hope they play Buffalo.
I can say this about Cincinnati. Cincinnati can beat any team in the NFL right now.
Any team.
That's a fact.
Any team, they can line up with anybody and they can beat them right now. They're a tough team.
They play Buffalo.
Quarterback is that guy like that. And you like, okay, no matter what happens, we do have Burrow. Like you just have a feeling when you're on a team like that. When I was a kid, I knew we got the best running back in Pop Warner.
You have a guy.
You go into that game like, oh, we can win. Even if somebody goes down, we have that guy. Worst case scenario, even if I fail, I believe in this guy. They can always fall back on Burrow. So like if you have Burrow and a good team, and Zach Taylor's done, I would say, a decent job. Like overall, I mean, he's not like an elite coach, but he has an identity. And we've talked about it. Sometimes it's just that basic. The defense has an identity. Period. You know what the defense wants to do, and they're really good at it. They drafted Dax Hill. It's been really good this year as well as a slot corner and a third safety. It's been really good.
So they have started to use him.
Oh yeah, I think he had like 5 tackles today.
Okay, good. I was about to say
he's a versatile player. He can play. He's a safety. Like he does a lot. So he's been good. Trey Henderson, really good player.
Underrated.
Poor Max Crosby, in my opinion. Like, he's like Max Crosby, but not that good as Max Crosby. But he's close to Crosby, but he's not as good as Crosby. But he's pushing Crosby. You think he's better than Crosby or something?
I do.
Well, Crosby like led in pressures last year.
Well, don't get Kenny on his Raider wave.
Kenny likes the Raiders.
No. I think Trey Hendrickson is. I mean, he may be having like a down sack year, but
he's out.
I think, huh?
No, he's out. Yeah, he's hurt now.
He's missed some time. Yeah, I think Trey Hendrickson is better than Max Crosby. I think you need to flip it, and we need to say, okay, Max Crosby is starting to catch Trey Hendrickson. Like Trey Hendrickson was quietly. I remember watching this guy, for New Orleans, and I'm like, who is this? chunky, out of shape looking guy that we can't block, and he's getting to the quarterback.
Don't wear no gloves.
That wears no gloves. Unsexy, right? He's like what's the kid named that Travis that plays for USC, right? But
I can't.
Like
Travis
Dye, yeah,
Travis
like
Dye.
yeah, no, like to me, Trey Hendrickson is like really like that, man. Like he's kind of an elite player in my opinion. I just think that he doesn't get heralded.
That's what I'm saying. Like you look at Cincinnati, they're a top 10 defense, but like it's like they don't have a Bosa, they don't have a Fred Warner, they don't have a Parsons, they don't have like they don't have those notable defensive names and suits and stars, but like Trey Henderson is like he's a good
other DM. Sam Hubbard's had a good year. That's the other
Sam
DM.
Hubbard,
yeah. Sam Hubbard from Ohio State.
Player.
Yeah,
Logan Wilson, linebacker, good player. Jesse Bates, hell of a free safety.
Yeah.
Like, and they've drafted and developed these guys. Just throw it out there.
Eli Apple.
They've drafted really well.
A lot of people thought Eli Apple was a bust.
He's a decent player. He's like Anthony Brown.
He's a starter.
Like,
he's
CB2. He's the best corner of your team. No, but is he just like, bro?
He's CB2.
Like
you're
the floor between Eli Apple and like as a CB2, this is a decent CB2. Like you just don't want your CB2 to be like again, like there's some bad corners out here, man. I don't think people understand how like corners are like really. It's the hardest. It's damn near hard position.
It's hard. It's second exactly.
It's the second.
So, solid players. You need 3 solid corners. No one has to be Jalen Ramsey. You need 3 guys that will not just get beat consistently. You need 3 solid corners. You get a good defense, and you need good pass rush.
And people, speaking about Eli Apple, a lot of people got mad at me for saying this, but I like that he was talking his trash. Like
why not? It's more fun.
I like the confidence. Like I could tell, like he rebuilt his confidence. I'm like, hey man, talk your trash. Like,
and look, you're going at Jamar Chase in practice every day. You probably are getting a little confident.
Yeah,
T. Higgins. So if I can guard these guys in practice, I can guard
anybody.
And I say this about Tampa Bay.
Ooh.
It's a little disappointing. I didn't think they were. So for me, I didn't think Tampa. I thought they would be a little bit better than what they are, but I didn't think they were an elite team this year. I didn't think they were going to be an elite team this year, and I knew it was going to be a rough year when they lost Ali Marpet. They lost Ryan Jansen, their center, Pro Bowl center.
Wirfs,
like Wirfs. Who's the guy? Yeah, like they retired. They like so many guys either left, retired, got hurt, especially in the offensive line. I'm like, if Brady don't have a solid offensive line, this could spell trouble because Brady, like the one thing he needs is an offensive line. Man. Like when pressure is in his face, he tends to struggle a little bit. I think with Todd Bowles, I feel bad for Todd Bowles because as a black coach, I want him to succeed. But I think he's the typical like better coordinator than coach.
I don't think he's a good head coach, man. I'm gonna be saying, look, man,
he's not. He's
black. I really want him to succeed. I think he's horrible, bro.
He's bad. He's bad. Like it goes to show you, like, great coordinator, but as a coach, he's bad. Like and
Byron Leftwich almost got the Jaguars job. He's terrible. Byron Leftwich is the offensive coordinator for the Bucks.
I think a lot of people want to shit on Bruce Arians. But everywhere Bruce has gone, whether it was in Indianapolis and he took over for Chuck Pagano,
he's made him better.
It was in Arizona where he had Rental and Carson Palmer. You can say, no risk it, no biscuit, and he's like happy hour at 4 type of guy.
Yeah, for sure.
But for some reason, he had this locker room. He had a pulse and a grip on this locker room. I think people, when he was the head coach, a lot of people were shitting on him, and Tom was going at him because Tom is psycho, and it's like, well, you're not working hard enough. Like, but Bruce had a pulse and a grip on this locker room and the identity in this locker room that is clearly gone. I know he still works within an organization, but he's not in that
Brady. Why he's up there?
Brady's
I think it was. You're right. I think it was a statement. He was like, "Oh, okay, I'll step down. Yeah, it is what it is. You want me to step down? Yeah." And it's almost sad for Todd Bowles, like, because I knew it wasn't gonna work. Like we're watching Todd Bowles. I'm gonna tell you 2 situations I knew would not work out. Todd Bowles being a head coach for Tampa Bay, and Dennis Allen being a head coach for the New Orleans Saints. I knew
Great coordinators,
phenomenal coordinators.
I just knew coordinators in the league.
Look, these guys are such great defensive coordinators, but some guys just aren't meant to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. Wade Phillips, Leslie Frazier.
Who was the Broncos coach? Who was just the Broncos coach?
Are you talking about? What's his name?
I know you're talking about.
Vic Fangio. Great coordinator.
Well, Vic Fangio. I thought you was talking about the. I thought you were talking about the guy before him. I always forget his name.
That's Vance Joseph, then, right?
Vance Joseph is actually a pretty good coordinator. He's pretty good.
The Cardinals right now, if I'm mistaken.
And I think they're leading the league in defensive scoring.
Like he's pretty good. Right? Again, it's tough to be head coach, man. It's really tough. And look at Josh McDaniels, maybe. Some people like McDaniels, but we have to wait and see. He might just be a good coordinator. He deserves another 2 years before I make that 100% jump, or at least another season. But it could even be McDaniels, man. It's really hard to be a head coach in the NFL. It's really tough.
Somebody need to give Kellen Moore a head coaching job.
It's gonna be an embarrassment if he gets a head coaching job.
But maybe he's better at management than he is with
coordinating.
He's too young to not call plays. I don't know if there's like ages to say, but he's too young to not call plays. Like you have to, like a 30-year-old head coach who doesn't call plays. What? You're a leader of men now? Like what?
He's he's gonna watch this. Kellen Moore's gonna turn into a rah-rah guy.
Like you're a rah-rah guy at 36? Like, nah, bro. Come on. Like if you're that young of a coach, your claim to fame is you're a genius, McVay or like Shanahan. Like you have to be that good. If you're like 34 and you're like struggling with play calling, it's like, bro, you just weren't a good player or a coach. Like you just lost. You need to be an accountant or something at that point. Like maybe front office guy or something. Scout. Look at or Joe Klatt on TV. Great what he does. Who knows if he could be a good coach or not? You never know. Great on TV though. So like, look, I think it's tough, man. Okay, we've been on here for a while. I do appreciate it. So just any last things if you want to get off any last crazy take before we get out of
here. I'll say this. I think the NFC playoff picture is going to surprise a lot of people. I still haven't identified one team in either conference that I could say at this point is just better than everybody. If I was to put my money on somebody in the AFC, I would say Cincinnati, only because their battle, as much as they're battle tested right now and what they fought through and how they've won some of these games, it's just scary. And then on the NFC side, I mean, to me, it's really anybody's battle because Philly will have a game where they'll look like the best team in the world, and then they'll have games where you start to see some of Jalen Hurts warts as a passer, and then you see the defense give up a lot of rushing yards, and so that's Philly. So then we don't even need to talk about Dallas because we know they're up and down. San Francisco, the truth is what is San Francisco going to look like when they have to play a Philly? What are they going to look like? Let's say they get to the Super Bowl. What are they going to look like when they have to play a Kansas City or a Buffalo? When they play, people talk about this is the best defense of the past 6 years. The first time they played an elite offensive unit, they got the break speed off of them. They got embarrassed. They got drugged all up and down the field.
Can't even wait to say that, Zach. He's definitely to say that.
I mean, no, because people say that. People say, yeah. So it's a little insulting when I hear it. I'm like, bro, I watched the 2000 Baltimore Ravens shut great offenses down. Teams weren't moving the football on them like that.
That's a whole nother conversation and debate.
People are talking about them as a generational deal. But I didn't say that. No. That's how. That the media portrays them. They said this is a generationally great defense.
Top 3 defense this year. Let's go there.
Year. That's fair enough. But we know, and obviously that. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's the 49ers. We know Minnesota has up in it. So the NFC is just such a wild card that
bodes well for the Cowboys. It does
it bodes well if they can just kind of steady the ship and come up with some type of a consistent offensive game plan, then maybe they have a shot. But watch this. Dare we say the Lions can sneak into the playoffs and shock people?
I can't. Kenny.
No,
Lions,
look, but
Kenny,
look how they're
you
no,
can't-
look,
no,
Ron,
no,
look,
no.
Ron, look, check me out. Look how they're playing right now.
Look,
How
I
they're
like
playing right
Lions.
now.
I
There's
like all the players on the team. I love
how they're
Amon-Ra St.
how,
Brown. Love the player.
how they're playing right now. I don't think I think they can play with anybody. And I
Okay.
think that they can beat a lot of teams in the NFL right now.
What we need is just this. We gotta stop with the Lions propaganda. Now,
It's not propaganda.
No.
This
One
man Kenny will not let the Lions die. I mean,
I told
mean,
you guys.
no,
They're my pet cat. Pet
One-
lion.
literally, but Lions.
Literally. Okay. No, but one can acknowledge that the Lions are not as notoriously bad as they have been, I don't know, since the beginning of time. But one can also acknowledge that you're going a bit too far.
Okay, so look. Okay, all right. So Zay, and this is not to hold us too long because anything is possible. They play the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers next.
Went out.
No. I'm not saying
they're more than likely went out. If they see the Vikings in the playoffs,
I think they can beat
the Vikings. I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna be a football fan and not a Cowboys fan. If they play the Cowboys again, they can beat the Cowboys. Especially if they look the way that they look today. They can beat.
We lose to the Lions. I might just take the jersey off. Like I'm just out of there.
Look,
I did it, but no.
People forget. They pushed Philly early and they
pushed
it was
a 4-point game or something.
Yeah, it was a 4-point game. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think the gap between, especially in the NFC, I don't think the gap is that big. I think it's just because the Lions, you're like, sounds absurd.
Yeah.
But when you're watching them play,
I just said one can acknowledge that the Lions are not as notoriously bad as they have been.
Golf has been pretty good. Golf's been good.
Golf has been really honestly, I'm not gonna say that, but I'm not gonna say
he might deserve a Pro Bowl nod.
I was gonna say he's been looking like a top 15 quarterback this year.
Top 15.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
I think my little take is I think the Bengals are gonna probably get the number 1 seed.
Oh wow! Wait, no, the Bills haven't lost though, have they?
But the Bills got to go to Cincinnati in a couple of weeks. I think it's not this week.
I'll check on it.
The following week. I think with Lamar Jackson's injury, you look at Cincinnati. They're clicking and playing at the right. Like it seems a lot like last year, where like they're just catching hot and catching steam at the right time and getting some big time W's. I think the Cincinnati Bengals will probably end up with the number 1 seed in the AFC.
They do play now. The Bills have to go to Cincy.
Yep.
But it's only a 1-game lead.
It's only 1-game lead. Buffalo's 11-3. Cincinnati's 10-4.
But what's the Chiefs record? Because what if the Chiefs went out? Let's see.
But
they beat the Chiefs. They
beat the Chiefs. That's what I said. I think they're gonna get number 1 seed. I'm gonna predict that the Cincinnati Bengals will get the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs.
I got a hot prediction for you guys.
Yeah.
No, if it's not hot if you mention the Lions.
It's not.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead.
I think Philly's gonna be a first round exit. I mean, well, let me stop. Second round. They're gonna have the bye week.
Okay.
I think they're gonna lose their first game.
Too. I think it depends who they play.
It depends who they play.
I think
if they would have played
probably is Dallas.
Oh no, would it be the 49ers? Or no? It wouldn't be the Niners.
I think are going to be the 2 seed, so it can't be them.
Okay, you think they're going to be the 2 seed over the Vikings?
Oh, the Vikings won, so they'll probably be the 3. But the 2 and the 3 usually play, right?
Okay, okay. So it would probably be the Cowboys.
Yeah, unless if the Lions win, if the Lions beat the Vikings, the Lions are the 7th seed. Philly would play the lowest possible, like the easiest matchup. So
I would dare somebody to say that the Lions can't beat.
This is getting sick. Like,
I'm telling you guys.
But the defense, the defense doing so bad.
Their defense has improved though. Their defense has gotten better.
The pass rush has been better.
And stopping the run. Houston. Who's his guy's name? What's his guy's name? Houston. Justin. Is it Justin? Josh,
it's not just in Houston, but it's like
what position is he?
Huh? He's a defensive end, and and if I'm not mistaken, he was on our practice squad. They elevated him, and then he hasn't looked back since.
He was on Hard Knocks. I didn't talk about it's like, and then they have that linebacker from Hard Knocks, the little Hispanic kid. He's
Malcolm Rodriguez. Yeah,
this is
it's a good ball club.
Right, okay.
And then
okay. Now look, those actually some pretty good. I actually now I'm looking at Cincy could get number 1 seed. Now they have a hell of a road. They play like the Patriots. They well, it's Patriots, but still Bill Belichick, a little more respect. They play the Ravens last week. That could be a hungry Ravens team for all we know. If Lamar's back and he's healthy. And then of course they play the Bills. So they have a little gauntlet, and they could use it. If they can win out, they would deserve the bye week. And they would need the bye week of probably the Hill. So I think it's possible. But again, I appreciate you all for coming on. This is just like being on FaceTime or talking to space. So again, I appreciate you all. And again, I appreciate everybody for